back in Miami. Let's go down to the sidelines and Leslie Visser.
Al, the Broncos have wrapped up home field advantage, as you said, no longer in search of a perfect season. So, Mike Shanahan, why is this game important?
Well, hopefully we can be playing our best football toward the end of this season with 2 games left. Hopefully we'll play a little bit better tonight than we did last Sunday.
And a couple years ago, you lost your competitive edge?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Last year we kept it, so hopefully we can follow suit.
You do it that way. Thanks a lot, Mike. Back to you, Al.
All right, thank you, Leslie. A reminder that commentary for tonight's game can also be heard in Spanish by pressing the SAP button on your remote. Sold out Pro Player Stadium tonight as the Denver Broncos get set to kick off. These two teams meeting for the first time since 1985 as Jason Elam, who will be going to the Pro Bowl, one of 9. John Avery and Brock Marion are back to receive for the Dolphins. And Elam's kick is fielded at the 8-yard line by the rookie Avery, their #1 draft choice, and the backup running back to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Out to the 34-yard line, he's tackled there by Tito Paul. Dan Marino, like Elway in year number 16. And on top of Elway in just about every important statistical category, but the one thing John has that Dan doesn't, of course, is the ring. Behind him, Abdul-Jabbar and Pritchett. Lamar Thomas gets the start outside with McDuffie, and Drayton is the tight end, and up front, Richmond Webb is hurt, inactive tonight. Brent Smith starts at left tackle. Bach Ruddy having a real good year. Donnelly and James Brown. Aranda Gadsden would normally start at one wide receiver spot. Missed the team meeting this morning and will not start, but is in uniform and will play. Thus Thomas gets the start, number 85. With McDuffie in motion on first down, they start on the ground, and for a loss of 1, Abdul-Jabbar taken down by Trevor Price, the Broncos' #1 pick last year. Let's look at the Bronco defensive line. Hasselback for the injured Neil Smith, Traylor and Price inside, and Tanuvasa at right end. Mobley, Kadrez, and Romanowski, the linebackers. Crockett, Gordon, Brown, and Atwater in the secondary. Atwater will go to the Pro Bowl as a starter, and there is the injured left tackle, Richmond Webb.
Richmond has a torn triceps tendon. He came back and tried to play a little last week. He had surgery back in early November. He's going to sit out.
2nd and 11, and Marino's first pass caught by McDuffie, and he's rolled down by Darian Gordon. Close to a first down up at the 46-yard line.
Well,
and 2nd and 11, Marino clicks.
In the pregame, Al, you talked about how last week they dropped back 62 times against the New York Jets, and Jimmy Johnson was second-guessing himself all week long, saying how we need to run the football. And you can see right here, these are quick outs. These are the types of things you can do with Dan Marino's arm. Just put a guy in motion and send him one-on-one.
It just doesn't help, Annie, that the first time you run the football, Trevor Price is in your backfield. This is a really banged-up offensive line. Kevin Donnelly, the really solid right guard, is coming back from a knee injury. We documented Webb being out. This is not a dominating offensive line. They don't punish people in the running game.
1st and 10, and you saw the look on Jimmy Johnson's face. If you missed our pregame show, we talked about the fact that Jimmy's mother, Aline, at the age of 77, passed away last night in Port Arthur, Texas. So Jimmy emotionally racked as he works the sidelines tonight on first down. Another loss as they keep it on the ground, and Abdul-Jabbar is 2 for -2, and
they might
did the whistle blow?
blow.
The body language indicates the whistle had blown.
But they're not, nobody.
Yes.
Normally somebody would point to the ground. We saw Luckett there give us the 2 for 2nd down, but normally you see a guy pointing at the ground signaling down.
Well, it doesn't look like a fumble, but really when you think about this officiating crew and some of the problems that they've had, this is the crew from Thanksgiving that kind of botched the coin toss. This is also the crew that had the New York Jet game with Vinny Testaverde against the Seattle Seahawks.
And right now it's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar not only losing ground but also shaken up, coming out. Keith Traylor put the hit on him, and with Abdul-Jabbar being helped to the sideline, that means we're going to see a pretty heavy dose of the rookie John Avery from Mississippi.
Now, I'd like to see the officials get out there and make the call and show that it's down. I mean, it looked like there was a lot of indecision between both teams and the officials.
Heads or tails? 2nd and 13 at the 41-yard line. Avery at 5'9", 190, and quick. And we'll see his quickness here if he can exploit it. And a little bit of toughness as well as he takes it to the 49-yard line, and that's what Jimmy Johnson wanted to see more from John Avery.
Well, he told us about Avery. I think he can be an every down back. Not being a real big guy at 190 pounds, you know, he really has the look of that third down receiving kind of back, that guy that maybe you give him a dozen or 15 handles a game. But Jimmy said no, he's tough enough to carry the ball 25 times. Well, tonight we might find out.
Key block right there was by number 85, Lamar Thomas, on Steve Atwater. And Steve Atwater took exception after the play. That looks like it's going to be a nice battle as the evening goes on.
Dan said looking like a third down back, but oddly he comes out on third down. They put Parmalee in on 3rd and 3, and Marino throws, and it's knocked away as Lamar Thomas was the intended receiver, and Tito Paul, who was beaten last week by Amani Toomer at the Meadowlands to stop the winning streak, busts up the play.
Well, the fact of the matter is, as both of you know, players have gotten so big in this game, you just don't see every down backs anymore at 190 pounds. Terrell Davis is a solid 210, and most of the regular backs in this game are on the far side of 200 pounds.
So Klaus Wilmsmeyer will kick. Line of scrimmage is the Denver 49-yard line. Darian Gordon will let it go, and Wilmsmeyer sends it into the end zone. And Denver will take it at the 20-yard line. With 11:54 to go in the opening quarter. John Elway and the Broncos with the ball when we come back. John Elway in what figured to be at the beginning of the season his farewell tour, but not necessarily so. Another great year for Elway despite being in and out of the lineup with injuries. Bubby Brister's done a nice job in reserve. Davis and Griffith, backfield, Smith and McCaffrey outside, and Sharp is the tight end. Tony Jones will be going to the Pro Bowl. Schlereth, Nalen, Neal, and Swain up front. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar shaken up on the first series, walking it off. He had to leave last week's game with a concussion. Crowd in full throat.
And you're going to see John Elway audibling right here. He sees the press coverage. He's going to want to throw it outside or run it outside.
And he'll run it outside with Davis, but he won't go anywhere as he's taken down by Kenny Mixon, a good-looking rookie out of LSU. Mixon, a number 2 draft choice in the spring, has started every game. Let's look at the Dolphin defense. The coordinator is George Hill. Mike Shanahan sending in a play on 2nd down. Mixon, Bowens to the Pro Bowl. Gardner and Taylor up front. Rogers, Zach Thomas, and Robert Jones are the backers. Buckley and Madison have done a wonderful job at the corners. Jackson and Marion are the safeties. Buckley and Jackson have 15 interceptions between them. On 2nd and 11. Elway to take off, and just does get back to the line of scrimmage. Maybe picks up one, first by Taylor and then finally by Gardner. Gardner and Taylor converging to stop him.
Well, the interesting thing about that play is that Denver emptied the backfield and put 5 guys out in a pattern, and Shannon Sharp was being chased by Zach Thomas. If they can get that matchup downfield, you would think that that's where they're going to try to exploit it. And John Elway's in the shotgun. You could see the pass rush coming at him. He steps up nicely and just gets caught from behind.
3rd down now and 11 from the 19-yard line. Elway fires, caught. McCaffrey, he'll go to the Pro Bowl as he floats over the middle, makes the grab, and knows exactly where the marker is and picks up the 1st down.
Boy, he's had a tremendous year, and he's been their big play receiver, especially in the beginning of the year. A lot of people were paying attention to both Shannon Sharp and Rod Smith, and Ed McCaffrey came along, and all of a sudden now teams are starting to look out him, and now Rod Smith has had a better second half of the year.
McCaffrey, though, with a big guy, you wouldn't expect him to have such a gaudy average, almost 17 yards per reception.
After the Broncos' initial 1st down, Terrell Davis seeking the league rushing title, also a 2,000-yard season, and if he gets lucky, he has a shot to break Eric Dickerson's mark of over 2,100 yards, but that's a little dubious at this point.
I think when they looked at the schedule and saw Miami here in the 15th week, that you would have to say that he'd have to have a big lead at trying to catch Dickerson. You see him right there with the 1,801 yards already, but it's that average at 5.2, folks. That's extraordinary company when you're running the ball at over 5 yards a clip. Not many guys have ever done it.
On 2nd and 7. Elway, look at that protection. And then he finds the open man, and it turns out to be Howard Griffith who loses the football, but no, they say incomplete. He never had it. Incomplete. Play is over.
Well, that's one official that waved that off. The one official on the sideline in front of the Miami bench was going to treat it as a fumble.
Well, you know, this is the type of thing that they've had problems here with, because, you know, one official sees one thing and another official sees another. You know, and they're not real clear on their communication.
But well, Boomer, though, it's if one guy doesn't see it, he shouldn't call it.
Right. That's a
completed pass.
That is a fumble.
That is a completed pass. You must demonstrate possession of the football and have both feet on the ground. That's a completed pass and then a fumble.
Not even close.
Nope.
Even replay couldn't overturn that, because that is the classic example of the inadvertent whistle right there. So even if replay had been in effect, it would still stand as an incomplete pass because the official had blown the whistle.
First break goes to Denver.
3rd down and 7 as Elway throws, and it's Sharp making the catch over the middle at the 43. So another 3rd down conversion for the Broncos, tackled by Marion.
Jimmy's still irate on the Miami sideline.
He's irate there because he felt Shannon Sharp pushed off on the last reception, but you could see right here clearly, if anything, he might be down before the ball comes out, but that looks more like a completed pass and a fumble than it does as an incompletion.
8.5 minutes left in the opening period with no score. This is the Broncos' first possession of the game. They have 2 first downs. It's 1st and 10. Davis swinging to the left side this time and taken down after a gain of about 3. Coming up from the corner is Sam Madison, having a great year. Jimmy Johnson telling us last night he hasn't blown one coverage all season.
He said he's been outstanding in every facet of the game, and it's really an extraordinary combination with Madison and Buckley, the 2 corners. Between them, they have 15 interceptions. Madison with 7, Buckley with 8. And as you saw right there, Madison more than just a cover guy. Awfully good on run support.
2nd and 7. The Broncos have scored in every first quarter this season. No team has ever gone through a season having done that. In fact, no team has ever gone this far, and one of the reasons, of course, is Terrell Davis just keep feeding him the ball as they do here, and that's a 1st down.
Every team in the league says we have to run the ball. We have to run the ball, but these guys do it with relative ease. And when you look at the other sideline with the Miami Dolphins, how many years have they been talking about we have to run it, we have to run it, and these are the reasons why. You take a lot of pressure off your quarterback. Your play caller can be real aggressive, especially when you get on the other side of the 50-yard line. It is just truly a very balanced offense.
Well, they're just not missing any pieces, Boomer. Everything is there. A blocking fullback, a wonderful tight end, outstanding receivers.
And now Davis lines up wide to the right. Davis,
and there you go, right in the middle.
Goes deep, and over the middle goes Shannon Sharp, and he lives over the middle, and Shannon Sharp will be going to the Pro Bowl again as the AFC tight end, 1st down at the 30.
His 7th one for Shannon Sharp. But again, it's an offensive team that really, if you're going to defense them, where do you start? And because there are no weaknesses.
And here's Zach Thomas, and they're trying to double him with Jones as well. And you could see Shannon does a good job of coming back. He does a nice job of changing direction. And look, the ball's even thrown before he turns around.
Shannon put on the brakes, and those 2 guys couldn't.
That's 1st down. They're in the shotgun. You don't see that often.
1st and 10 at the 30-yard line. And Davis wrapped up by Zach Thomas. 3rd year out of Texas Tech. His story well known by now. Nobody thought that this kid had a chance. And now everybody down here thinks he should be going to the Pro Bowl.
Very angry about the fact that he wasn't selected to go to the Pro Bowl for the AFC. The inside linebackers, Junior Seau and Ray Lewis, 2 outstanding football players. But there's nothing like playing football angry. And Zach Thomas and the rest of this defensive team, they're very angry.
2nd and 14. This is the 12th play of Denver's opening drive, and the pass is errant, intended for Rod Smith. It'll be 3rd down and 14.
Every now and again, he'll miss one. He's human. Although they might not think so in Denver, but he does miss a few here and there. But, you know, you talk about the Pro Bowl, and as an ex-player, I remember this time of year it was very important to receive the accolades from your coaching staff, from your team, your peers around the league. And you know, there are players like Ray Lewis and Junior Seau that do belong in the Pro Bowl, and players like Zach Thomas can easily be there with them.
That's what makes
not enough room.
That's what makes it such an honor.
Right, exactly.
3rd and 14. The Broncos have converted each of their prior third downs. Elway out of the gun, slips sliding away, then throws, and that's incomplete and broken up by Madison.
Interesting decision here now. We're going to see a long field goal attempt, and obviously Jason Elam is up to it, isn't he, Al?
Well, you know, the funny thing is, yeah, Elam's going to go to the Pro Bowl having kicked a 63-yarder. It's like last week, Boomer, in the sense Denver with a lot of plays, a lot of yardage, but coming up short, as they did against the Giants.
You need touchdowns in this league, and last week they were in the red zone 3 times and came away with 3 field goals.
This is a 52-yarder. As you can see, Elam just about as good on the road as he is in the rarefied air in Denver. From 52 yards away, plenty of distance, and right down the middle. And that was close to a 63-yarder right there.
Who cares about being at sea level, huh?
You know, you're right, Dan. They do have it everywhere, don't they?
Oh, they do. This is, when it comes to scoring points, this is a football team without flaw.
He cleared it by about 10 yards. A 52-yarder by Elam. Broncos lead 3-0. Pro Player Stadium, this will be the site of the Super Bowl, so the Denver Broncos hoping to return here the last week in January. Elam kicks off to the goal line. John Avery, his second run back of the night, is a 22-yard return as he gets tackled by George Coghill. So Marino coming back with his team trailing by 3, 5:40 left in the period. Abdul-Jabbar shaken up on the first series, but helmet on, ready to play, though he is not in at the moment as he seeks another 1,000-yard season. Had one in his rookie year. And John Avery begins this series on first down from the 23-yard line. The Miami Reno show in its 16th season here. McDuffie in motion on first down, and Marino going O.J.'s way out to the 33-yard line. Darian Gordon makes the tackle. O.J. came into the weekend as the leading receiver in the league in terms of receptions with 79.
He's really done a nice job for the Miami Dolphins. You know, they really don't have a big play type of receiver, and O.J.'s more of an athletic inside receiver. You can see how big he is. He's not afraid to go across the middle, and really without the the threat of a big play type of guy, they got to throw the ball to him much more, and he's really reaping the benefits of that.
What McDuffie doesn't have is just blazing straightaway speed. He's about a 4.6 40 guy when there are guys in this league that are down that 4.4 4.3 range.
So much for the running game.
Marino wide open over the middle is Troy Drayton, the tight end, doing a Shannon Sharp impersonation all the way to the 32, tackled by Mobley.
You know, the interesting thing you hear all week long about, they have to run, right? Well, I think that Jimmy Johnson realizes, just like he did last week, when you play the Jets or you play the Broncos, you have to put points on the board. You can't play it close to the vest. And right here, Dan Marino does a nice job with the play fake, and he is as accurate as ever right down the middle.
Jimmy is such a believer in his defense winning football games, but let's be realistic. This is the Denver Broncos. You are not going to hold them to 10 or 13 points tonight.
That's a 35-yard gain to the 32-yard line. Toss to Avery, the rookie out of Ole Miss. Gets taken down by Mobley after a gain of 1.
It is fun to look at John Avery, though, when he takes off with the football. It's obvious the guy has a serious case of the quicks. He's a darty, really quick move kind of a guy, and he is the one guy in a Miami uniform that when he touches the football can take it all the way to the end zone. He just looks different when he's carrying the football. He's moving parallel to the line, makes the move, back out, back in. Good pursuit by Denver, but this guy's got a motor.
They have Abdul-Jabbar in the game now, but split. And he takes the toss as Avery was flanked out, and he gets thrust out of bounds at the 30-yard line. So they had both Avery and Abdul-Jabbar in the game, with Kareem as the running back and Avery as a wideout.
And a flawed blocking scheme there. You can't pitch the ball without accounting for the corner force.
You know, 2nd and 10 down here is a play that you'd rather throw the football. And when we talk about throwing it, you want to throw it effectively. You don't want to have to throw it because you have to throw it. And right here now it's 3rd and 10. You're going to have to throw. You're going to have to put him back in the shotgun. And it's difficult because you have guys outside, receivers that are having trouble getting separation.
Third down 9. Nate Jaquette in the game. Saw a lot of action last week. A guy who's been playing on special teams most of the year, but Marino looking his way lately, and he hits McDuffie, his favorite target, and a big first down to the 13-yard line. McDuffie has already caught 3 balls tonight for 39 yards.
It's a great play call here because they actually come with what is called a zone blitz, where the linebacker blitzes on the outside and one of the interior defensive linemen drop back, and the void in the zone, as you see, number 98 running back right there, is right where McDuffie caught the football. So it was a nice play design that time by Kippy Brown, the offensive coordinator of the Miami Dolphins.
Nice matchup when you got Tanabasa trying to cover O.J. McDuffie.
Well, it's not one-on-one. It's all zones, and they're trying to confuse the quarterback. A little difficult when he's been in the league 16 years.
Abdul-Jabbar, who had the wind knocked out of him. That was the report earlier. There is Kippy Brown. Last year they made the change. Gary Stevens had been the offensive coordinator, and Jimmy very happy with the job Kippy's done this year.
Yeah, Kippy was the running back coach on Jimmy's staff for a couple of years, and he won Johnson's trust. And Jimmy, when Jimmy has an offensive coordinator, he really gives him a lot of latitude. Jimmy pays a lot of time, a lot of attention to the defensive team, and doesn't meddle a lot with the offense.
Just run the ball, though.
Yeah.
Neil Smith, the
we'll get along fine.
great Denver defensive end. He's inactive tonight as Marino has a ton of time, but the secondary does its job, and there's nobody open. McDuffie double teamed on the play, and upcoming will be third down.
This is what you call managing your position at the quarterback, fellas, because both times we've seen now John Elway and Dan Marino sit back there. They have time, but they get rid of the football, and you can take a look here that the Denver Broncos get away with one.
That's Aranda Gadsden, who did not start because he missed a team meeting this morning, but is in the game at the end of the period here.
And Ray Crockett, I guess, figured that seeing that he missed the meeting, I can go ahead and hold him in the end zone. He doesn't deserve any better.
Third down and 7 from the 10-yard line, and a terrible looking play with all kinds of confusion intended for McDuffie, with Bernie Parmalee also in the neighborhood, and it's fourth down.
It's a quick screen trying to get the blockers out in front of McDuffie, and that's an all-timing play, Boomer, and the timing was nada.
It really is, and Bernie Parmalee looks to me like he goes too deep. And you can see right there,
yeah,
McDuffie doesn't have a chance to make the play, but if Bernie can get closer to the line of scrimmage and McDuffie move towards the quarterback, then maybe they might have a chance of making that play work.
McDuffie's got to come back a yard or two off the line of scrimmage.
Right, and the running back has to go a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage.
28-yard field goal attempt by Olindo Mare, who doesn't make it over the top of the goalpost, over the top of the upright, and no good from 28. And Jimmy will be trilling those R's in the name of Olindo Mare. 3-0 Denver. 1:26 left in the opening quarter after the Mare miss from 28 yards. Still 3-0 Denver. As the Broncos have it at the 20-yard line. McCaffrey is in motion on first down. And movement on the right side, and that is Harry Swain moving early. It'll be 1st and 15 after Phil Luckett makes it official.
Prior to the snap, false start, offense, number 74, 5 yards, it remains, first down.
Let's set the Miami situation once again for late tuners in terms of the playoffs. If Miami wins tonight, they're in. They're in the playoffs, guaranteed, or next week at Atlanta. But what they really would like to do is to win tonight and at Atlanta next week, because that would cement the number 4 seed, meaning in the wild card round they would play the first game here and not on the road. From the 15-yard line, another flag as that play is whistled dead. Shannon Sharp was moving.
Prior to the snap, false start, offense, number 84, 5 yards penalty, it remains, first down.
They could also back in, gents, by even if they lost and Tennessee loses to Minnesota in Nashville on Saturday, Miami could actually really back into the playoffs, losing their last 3 games.
I don't think they want to go to Buffalo or New England. I can tell you that right now. You want to have one of those 2 teams here, I would think.
Simulating the snap right there with Shannon Sharp, and I can't imagine going into the playoffs having lost 3 games in a row It's pretty safe to say a team that does that is going nowhere except home after the first week.
Yeah, you'd be looking at 3 road games in the playoffs to get home as Davis takes it up to the 13, because Miami would have to win all 3 playoff games on the road, and then they'd get to the Super Bowl here.
Right. Fat chance if they closed out 3 losses in a row.
Monday Night Football being brought to you by Ford Taurus. Ford, built to last. Prudential, bringing strength and stability to America's families through insurance, healthcare, real estate, and financial services. Propecia and Bud Light, for the great taste that won't fill you up and never lets you down. Make it a Bud Light.
That still stands, doesn't it? No home team has ever played in their home stadium for a Super Bowl.
Right, 2nd and 17, and it is sharp, and Shannon looks for the flag.
Well, it looks like he yanked him down, didn't it?
Byron Chamberlain. It was Byron Chamberlain, the other tight end. And there is no flag. Derek Rogers, the linebacker, with him.
Mike Shanahan pleading his case. Well, definitely hooked him by the shoulders, but the ruling was that that was not a ball that he could have caught.
Ooh, close.
Yeah, you'd expect to see a flag more often than not there.
Chamberlain, a guy they think has a great future, fast and big, as Elway guns it on 3rd down, intended for McCaffrey, and the coverage is brilliant. Patrick Surtain back there with him, and it's 4th down.
Now, what you're seeing now by the Miami Dolphin defense is just exactly what they are. They're aggressive, they're fast, they're young, and maybe even more importantly, they're cheap. They don't cost a lot on that defense.
No, there's not a lot of big money over there.
Nope, and they are aggressive, and they line up, bump and run, and they'll play you all the way down the field. And they're led by this guy, Terrell Buckley, who told me before the game he's not worried about the Pro Bowl. He just wants the punt return king average.
Tom Ruin to punt. And this is Buckley, and Terrell slips.
That's one way to get it.
And down at the 43, to the consternation of special teams coach Mike Westhoff. 23 ticks left in the opening period. 3-0 Denver.
Web at ESPN.com.
Here's a reminder, Christmas Day at noon Eastern time, 9 a.m. on the coast. Kelly Tire's Blue-Gray All-Star Football Classic with the Jeep Aloha Bowl from Hawaii. Colorado against Oregon.
You know who played that inaugural Aloha Bowl many years ago?
Did you?
Yes, I did.
From the 42. It's a great trip. As Marino throws, and it's caught over the middle, and it is Ed Perry dragging Crockett with him for a 1st down. Ed Perry, the 2nd tight end, as the quarter winds down. And at the end of 1, it's Denver 3, Miami nothing. Monday Night Football resumes after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Miami, you'll talk about scheduling quirks. The Broncos have not played a game in Miami since 1975.
And it's just the way the schedule worked out. I know people think that the schedule should be made up, that guys like Marino and Elway should play every other year, but it's based on how you finished the year before.
Exactly, as Avery gets taken down for a loss there. But the Broncos, of course, would love that one more visit to South Florida on January 31st. And I mean, everybody right now anticipating it's Denver against Minnesota, clearly the 2 best teams in the league.
They might be the 2 best teams, but I will tell you right now, the Denver Broncos have not played their best football this time of year. And you and I were talking about it today. If I had to rank the teams right now, you'd have to put the Jets, the Falcons, and the Vikings, and maybe then the Broncos, just the way they played the last 2 weeks.
That's the way you would rank them.
No, I said maybe.
No, I'm just Boomer. Everybody, the fact of the matter is, if you want to go to the Super Bowl, you're going to have to go to the Metrodome and beat the Vikings, and you're going to have to go to Mile High Stadium and beat the Broncos, and I'm not sure that can be done.
No, I agree with you, but I'm just in the last 2 weeks of this season. I mean, the Vikings just look unbeatable last night. The Falcons have played well all year long, and now the Jets, who have gone on the road against the Dolphins and the Bills and won big games.
There's John Avery, who is hurt, so Jimmy Johnson has just watched Kareem Abdul-Jabbar get shaken up on the first series tonight and come out for a while, and now his backup John Avery is down.
And if anything that you can get out of the fact that the Broncos lost last week to the Giants, and speaking to almost every player out there on the Broncos squad, they were saying it was a wake-up call because we were not playing that well.
A look at Avery as he gets shaken here 55 seconds into the second quarter. Shaken up after the tackle by Hasselbeck. Back in a moment. John Avery shaking it off. We'll get a report on him. In the meantime, it's 3rd down and 11. And with Abdul-Jabbar out on 3rd down, Parmalee is in. Marino out of the shotgun. Right ankle sprain is the report. Action up front.
What the action?
Yeah, what was that? The ball was snapped by Tim Ruddy, and Denver recovers it.
Dan Marino wasn't even anywhere close to expecting a snap.
Well, I'll tell you what he was doing. He was moving up there to kind of redirect his offensive line and tell him what was going on. And I think Ruddy misunderstood Dan's commands. He thought that he was going to be calling a snap count. Really what you have to do when you walk up there is you got to kind of settle your offensive lineman down. Easy guys, easy guys. You can see Dan is actually yelling instructions, and Ruddy misinterprets that as a snap count. Ouch.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, that's
the type of miscommunication between a veteran quarterback and a veteran center.
You could see Ruddy right there. It's just saying, I know, I shouldn't have snapped it.
You got decent field position. You're inside Denver territory, and then a gap like that.
Romanowski recovers. Bill Romanowski for Denver. Now they give the ball to Davis. They feed it to Terrell. He picks up a yard, getting to the 49-yard line. It held Davis in check, at least at the outset of tonight's game. That's 7 carries for 13 yards for the guy who's the best back in the league right now.
You can see Dan Marino right there on the sideline talking about it. And you know, like I said, one of the things that you want to do as a quarterback, especially in the shotgun, the center has a hard time hearing you. If you're going to change the play or audible or move the protection around, you have to do it ever so slightly. You can't bark out commands quite quickly like that.
On 2nd and 10, it is Elway taken off and getting the first down. John Elway out of bounds at the 39-yard line. A 12-yard scamper. Speaking of scampering, Thursday night, he knows if you've been bad or good. Michael Madsen is coming to town with a vengeance. Vengeance Unlimited Thursday night at 8 o'clock 7 Central right here on ABC.
Difference there is if you're bad, he'll just kill you.
That's right.
That goes way beyond having a lump of coal in your stocking.
A little bit.
I'm going to put this coal in my stocking. I'm going to beat you with it.
Little overkill. First down at the 38-yard line. Davis and Terrell dragged down by Thomas after a gain of 4.
So unlike some teams, the Denver Broncos will continue just to hammer Terrell Davis right up the middle at you. They know sooner or later you're going to get tired, and their game plan is to beat you down. And right around the 3rd or 4th quarter, that's when he really starts to take over. This is nothing but straight ahead. It's a little draw play where the fullback leads and tries to get through on a linebacker, and Griffith had a little trouble getting through there on Zach Thomas, and Zach Thomas made the play.
On 2nd and 5. That familiar deep drop of Elway, and then another familiar move. Sliding for a first down to the 25-yard line.
He must have been watching Steve Young last week.
Well, what John is doing right now is really rattling Miami's defense.
Sure is.
You take off twice and run like that for, you know, relatively easy gains. This really shakes up a defensive football team. And look at John. There's no indecisiveness. The minute he saw that they were failing to cover up a running lane, he took off with the football.
And he'll know going into the game plan that Miami likes to play a lot of man coverage, or at least man in their zones, and he'll know that they're voided out there, and he'll take off.
Now Davis, and his 9th carry of the game, is his best to this point as he takes it to the 18-yard line. He had been limited to just 18 yards, and he is the leading rusher in the league, coming in with 18:01 at the start of play tonight.
Interesting tonight as we chronicle the careers of these two Hall of Fame quarterbacks. What we just saw out of John Elway those last couple of runs, the big difference between these two guys.
It really is. And
Dan Marino does not do that ever.
But 8 years ago, John used to do more of it.
Right.
Now he just does it when he knows he can be effective, and who can ever forget the play that he made in the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah, that may be the signature play of his career. Davis almost dropped the football. and is able to secure it as he gets tackled by Burton. Very close to a first down.
You know, he didn't have a great game passing in that Super Bowl, but if there was one play that really set the tone for his football team, was that play, and everybody knows it, is one he took off with and did a little helicopter down close to the goal line and made a first down with it.
Miami almost got the ball back. Terrell Davis did not field that handoff from Elway cleanly. He stayed with it. Luckily wasn't challenged right away.
10 minutes left in the half. 3-0 Denver. Broncos trying to capitalize on a fumble off the missed snap, and timeout is called by John with a 3rd and 1 upcoming. Tonight's aerial shots being provided by the Bud 1 airship. There it is, floating high above Pro Player Stadium, which opened for business in 1987.
Now this is an area here where you might see a play fake to Terrell Davis. It's 3rd and short, and Miami's defense is going to be aggressive.
3rd and 1 from the 17-yard line.
There it is.
Off the fake. Elway throws, caught, first down. Rod Smith pulls it in at the 8-yard line as Boomer called the play to a guy, Rod Smith, who last year was the key guy, and now he's been doubled so much this year that McCaffrey's been the beneficiary.
Yeah, and McCaffrey really has, and we talked about that early on in the season. It seemed like every time he turned on some highlights, Ed McCaffrey was making a touchdown. And then now, as the season has progressed, Smith has really caught up to him now. And you could see they're just so dangerous, not only at the wide receiver position, but at tight end, running back, and quarterback. As you said, Dan, they're fully loaded.
75th catch of the season for Rod Smith. 1st and goal from the 7. TD. Inside the 5, shoved out at the 4-yard line by Sam Madison, 2nd and goal.
And there's nothing really glamorous about that as we look at George Hill up in the Miami press box running the defense. But it's the way that everybody on Denver stays on their blocks. Their offensive linemen know how to finish. They get on somebody, they stay there till the whistle blows, and as we saw in that play right there, the outside guys block. Ed McCaffrey is out here on the point, and his block gives Terrell Davis another 4 or 5 yards. There's McCaffrey right out on the corner, blocking on Sam Madison. Everybody finishes their blocks in a white shirt.
2nd and goal, and there's a fumble, and Davis picks it up and at least retains possession for the Denver Broncos, as Terrell Davis was alert enough to pick it up at the 9-yard line and keep the ball. 3rd and goal.
You know, watching that play, the interesting thing was you could see John Elway actually looking out to his left. He noticed that there was a blitz coming and looked like he tried to get out underneath the center before he had the ball. You could see him look to his left, and the ball just slips through his hands.
Yeah, Tom Nayland's the center. He delivered it. He put it right in Elway's hands, and the ball just squirts away from John. Almost looked like it had Vaseline or something on it.
3rd down and goal, and Davis stays in the game, but he's wide to the right. Terrell at the top of the screen is the wide out. Elway in the empty backfield out of the gun. He looked toward Davis. He couldn't get open, so John's going to take off, lose the football in the end zone, and it is recovered there in the end zone by Rod Smith for the touchdown. Jason Taylor was able to punch the ball loose, and of all things, well, it's been that kind of a year for the Denver Broncos.
It really has. I mean, it's something to behold when you can make a play. This is, again, vintage Elway just moving to his left this time and knowing that he's going to take it. You know, that's when I decided to retire, when a defensive lineman could track you down from behind.
Well, Jason Taylor can run he can run down any quarterback in this league from behind.
If you're wondering about a fumble into the end zone, if
Depends
it's
what time of the game and what down it
or
is.
if it's a 4th down, Elway would have had to recover it himself, or in the last 2 minutes of the game he would have.
Right.
But in this particular circumstance, that is allowed. You can recover it, as was the case. Smith for the TD, Elam for the conversion. So the Broncos with 2 fumbles inside the 10, but wind up with 7 points, and with 7:56 to go in the half, it is 10-0 Broncos. Miami, home of the Marlins, the Heat, Panthers, and the Dolphins.
The University of Miami.
University of Miami.
The Canes.
Yep. A few great racetracks. At the 3-yard line, this is Brock Marion. And Brock Marion put himself into one of those really awkward positions where he could have been seriously hurt. Tackled at the 22-yard line. In the meantime, look at this again, the Elway fumble.
There's Jason Taylor. He comes down and going to hit John right in the elbow. And John pretty careless with the football, dangling it out there just in one hand. And fortunately, one hops right to Rod Smith.
What a great play by Jason Taylor, however. I mean, it just goes to show you how quick and how fast this defense is. When you have a defensive end coming from all the way around the corner, tracking your quarterback down and forcing a fumble.
There aren't many defensive linemen in this league faster than Jason Taylor.
John Avery has gone back to have his ankle x-rayed, so the backup running back is out. Abdul-Jabbar over the left side out to the 25-yard line for the Dolphins, remember, who missed a field goal from 28, had a fumbled snap at the 50. Have now seen Avery go back with a right ankle sprain. Jabbar had the wind knocked out. Jimmy, of course, emotionally racked, and we've talked about that tonight. And this is a team that must win 2 games to secure a home game in the playoffs.
And right now, they're finding themselves in the position that most of Denver's opponents find themselves in. Behind relatively early in a ball game, having to play catch up.
2nd down and 7 from the 25-yard line. Elway deep, and it is incomplete. Troy Drayton looks around for a flag, and there is no yellow on the field. 3rd down and 7. Well, the season concludes this weekend. Sunday Night Football on ESPN. The matchup out of Irving, Texas, features the Washington Redskins and the Dallas Cowboys, and we will go to Jacksonville. Well, at the beginning of the year, this looked like it might be for the division title, but instead Jacksonville has wrapped up the AFC Central against the Pittsburgh Steelers, out of the playoffs for the first time in the Cowher regime. Next Monday night. If nothing else, we'll have a few stories to talk about. It has been a very unusual year in Pittsburgh. 3rd down, and it is incomplete as Aronda Gadsden can't hold on, covered by Torrey James.
You know, you just see an offense that is so struggling. Their receivers can't get away from anybody, and really what Denver does to you on defense is they put pressure on you by bringing linebackers and dropping off defensive linemen. And you know, this is the problem that you have when your receivers are banged up, as Aronda is. He does not get any separation from the defensive back whatsoever. The quarterback really has no place to throw the football.
Darian Gordon back to receive. Dan, I promised Klaus that we'd call him Vilmsmeyer one night. He said, my father Klaus Sr. will love it in Toronto. So Vilmsmeyer's kick hauled in by Gordon at the 31, and he's out of bounds at the 38.
Klaus, you will punt the ball, and you will punt it well.
Good punt. 6:41 left in the half, and there's a flag down, so hold the band.
Hold the band, stop it.
This has either got to be some sort of unsportsmanlike conduct or holding. There you have it. But it looked almost to me like it was a clip in the back down here along the sideline, an illegal block in the back, but they didn't see it, and you can see Jimmy Johnson was arguing on the sideline because he wanted the clip in the back down here.
Phil Luckett making the call.
Watch number 39
Holding.
right here.
Receiving team number 89. The foul occurred during the return. 10 yards. 1st down.
And that was right in front of the side judge right there, and Jimmy Johnson was screaming, wanting that penalty.
It moves it back to the 28. 6:41 to the half. 10-zip Denver. Oh yes, it's the first night of winter, ladies and gentlemen.
Feeling no effects down here in South Florida.
It's beautiful down here.
Temperature today in the low 80s. Nice breeze off the ocean.
Al Michaels, Dan Dierdorf, Boomer Esiason, Leslie Visser. 10-0 Denver. Bronx have it at the 28-yard line, and Elway buying time with that fake, and then it's incomplete over the middle, intended for Shannon Sharp, who looks around and says, where's that flag? Shannon looking like a jewelry store out there.
Oh, he's beautiful now. He'll tell you a few things about himself on the field, and he'll also tell you a few things about yourself.
Boomer, take a look at this. Last time Elway faced Marino in '85, 13 years ago. 4 guys on the left still active: Cunningham, Moon, DeBerg, and Craig, but 6 guys announcing football, including
Me?
There you are, right at the bottom there.
Proves it's easier to talk than to play.
2nd and 10.
Oh, you would know, Dan.
Oh, believe me.
And
See, Boomer, why do you take everything as being derogatory? I was just making a blanket statement. It had nothing to do with you.
well, Boomer is still shell-shocked from the announcement earlier today, as you look at Gary Kubiak, that Jake Plummer of the Arizona Cardinals just signed a 4-year, $29 million extension with a $15 million bonus. 2nd highest contract in the history of the NFL to Steve Young.
Hey, I'm happy he gets it, but you know what? When I was there, they told me they had no cash. I was like, what's going on?
It's all the money he's been saving up the last 30 years.
Right, it's in the market. 3rd down and 10. Elway under pressure throws. It's a short throw, and Smith adjusted but couldn't make the play. Brian Walker back on the coverage, along with Jerry Wilson had blitzed that time to put the pressure on Elway.
Oh, safety blitz off the side and forced John to throw the ball quickly, and he tried to lay it up there, give Smith a chance. You can see number 24 come right off the corner here. John sees him, no panic, just throw it up and give your receiver a chance to make a play for it.
Tom Ruin to punt now at the 28-yard line.
You're not gonna force these quarterbacks into panicking. They've seen it all and they've handled it all, and they've had success against all those different blitzes.
Terrell Buckley. That's a good kick. It's a great kick. 54 yards, and Buckley brings it back to the 26-yard line. And it's Keith Burns down there to stop him at the end. Tomorrow night on ABC, it's the annual Barbara Walters 10 Most Celebrated People special, the most fascinating people of 1998. That's tomorrow at 10 o'clock, 9 Central Time, and we know one of those guys is Mr. Mark McGuire.
The interesting thing about the Jake Plummer contract is that, there are going to be a few other guys that are going to come up here now for renegotiations and extensions, and really Jake has done a great job out there. I think he has 8 comebacks in the last 2 years, and you talk about comebacks and you talk about great quarterbacks. These two here tonight, I think Jake's off to a great start.
First down from the 26-yard line. Marino throws, and it's caught up at the 31. The catch hauled in there by Nate Jaquette, tackled by Gordon. Boomer, I only wish I had my Instamatic when I broke the news to Elway before the game what Plummer got in that deal.
Well, hey, it's all about timing and being in the right place at the right time. And Jake's a local hero there. He played for ASU, and
it's a smart move by the Cardinals.
Right, and they're struggling, and somebody was telling me that they I guess they think between 10 and 15,000 more fans are going to the games for him. And maybe they can get back on track by getting to the playoffs for the first time in many years this year.
2nd down and 4 at the 32-yard line as Marino throws, and that's caught wide open as Lamar Thomas, and Miami gets the big play it needs at this point all the way to the 42-yard line. Thomas springs free over the middle and picks up 26.
Boy, Thomas landed awkwardly, though. I think he banged himself up a little bit when he came down. Boy, he was digging for every extra yard, but he's going to go off the field. This will leave a mark the way he landed.
And I'll tell you, somebody blew a coverage zone there. It might have been Romanowski. It looks like he got back pretty deep, and Thomas came underneath. Now, if you're going to make a mistake, Romo's going to make you pay for it at the end here. I should know because he intercepted me here in the Super Bowl many years ago.
First down at the 42-yard line, Abdul-Jabbar.
What a memory, bro.
One I tried to forget, but every time I see this part of the field down here in Pro Player, this is exactly where it took place.
Meanwhile, James Brown, the big right tackle of the Dolphins, into a little shoving match with your buddy. The aforementioned Romanowski, he's in a little tussle. Whoa.
Well,
look at that guy move.
I guess it really happened. Rolling, throwing, and I can't believe he threw that pass. Bill Romanowski intercepts for the 49ers, who go on to win on that Montana drive. John Taylor's touchdown catch at the end.
Okay. Our defense held them, and they missed the field goal after that.
Gotcha.
I was reminded before the game. Thank you.
A turnover that did not result in points.
That's right. Our defense kept us in the game. Thank goodness they were there.
Timeout Miami with 2nd and 10 upcoming. 10-zip Bronx. And a guy whose his name gets mentioned once in a while in terms of head coaching vacancies. The other guy we've been seeing tonight, Gary Kubiak, is a serious contender. You would think at this point, in fact, with the Cleveland Browns in the next few days allowed to begin to interview coaches, Gary Kubiak is one of those guys who will, I'm sure, be interviewed by the Browns.
Yeah, every other team has to wait until that particular team's coaching staff is done with their season, regardless of how deep they go into the playoffs. Only the Browns have an exemption this year from that rule. I think, what, they start next week?
I believe it's next Monday.
Yeah, I think so too.
You spend that much money on a football team, you better get some breaks.
2nd and 10, and the pass is behind Thomas, so Lamar was shaken and then comes back and can't hold that one in. Monday Night Football is being brought to you by Chrysler, engineered to be great cars. Budweiser since 1876, the classic American lager. And the New York Stock Exchange. The world puts its stock in us. Did today mark it up about 85 after I think at one point it was up about 170.
Curbs were in most of the day.
Very early on they were in. 3rd down and 10. Should we go to Marita Bartiromo for a report or no? Never mind. 3rd down and 10 from the 42-yard line.
You'd like to.
The pass is incomplete and it's 4th down. Oronde Gadsden was the intended receiver.
You have to remember that Dan Marino has had some great wide receivers here in his tenure playing here, and right now Oronde Gadsden's playing with 2 bad turf toes. He's also coming off a year in the Arena League and is kind of beat up, and you can see him limping there a little bit. And you know, it's frustrating for a quarterback when you drop back and you don't have confidence in your guys to get open, especially when it's against press coverage like that.
Gadsden played with the Portland Forest Dragons of the Arena League, and that is a high floating kick. In fact, the infield fly rule is in effect on that Wilmsmeyer boot that winds up rolling dead at the 23-yard line, to the consternation of the crowd. Let us go to Leslie Visser. Leslie.
Evening, gentlemen. Well, you may know, Al, that 10 minutes after the Giants beat the Broncos, Nick Buonacone was on his way here to Pro Player Stadium. How good did that champagne taste?
They're very, very good, Leslie. I'll tell you what, everybody says, don't you wish that the Miami Dolphins had a chance to beat the Broncos? I said, no. The Giants are my new favorite team. I love them.
Well, everyone would want to know, how would your 72 team handle the 98 Broncos?
Oh, I think we do pretty well against them. We had a great running game. We had a great offensive line. Great Hall of Famer named Paul Warfield, and a defense that set the record for the fewest number of points in the NFL.
You ought to be an announcer. Thanks very much, Nick. Back to you, Al.
Thank you, Leslie. As the Broncos on 1st down from the 22. Elway going deep and incomplete, intended for McCaffrey, covered by Terrell Buckley.
But John's going to have to complete a few passes just to get up somewhere close to 50%.
Yeah, it's you know, and really what they do, Dan, is when you see that press coverage, you know, they're inviting you to go after it. And you can see Terrell right here sticking with McCaffrey. And sometimes as a quarterback, you try to be too pinpoint and too accurate when maybe just give your guy a chance to go up and make a play for you. But I know when I played against this type of defense, you always want to think you can get the big strike on them, but it's not that easy.
Elway, an uncharacteristic 4 out of 12, 33%. And on 2nd and 10, Davis swings to the outside. Good tackle. That's Sam Madison. Dan mentioned before, not only great in coverage, but run support. And that's the 2nd time he's made a great play on run support tonight.
The whole concept of this Miami defense is built around the 2 big guys inside, Gardner and Bowens, and then forcing everything to the outside where they count on their team speed to always be able to get to the sidelines. And that was an excellent illustration. If Madison wouldn't have made that tackle, there were 2 other Miami defenders in there getting ready to make the hit. This group can run.
3rd and 14. And the play clock down to 0, and there's no play. No play. The delay of game against the Broncos.
You know, Dan, talking about this defense, not only is it young and it's quick, but it's very simple.
Snap, delay of game, offense. 5 yards, it remains, 3rd down.
Now, Jimmy Johnson wants to keep his players active on the field, and he wants to do it by not asking them to think too much. He wants to be able to put young players out there and say, this is what your responsibility is. Just go out and do it. 9 times out of 10 plays, you're going to be doing the same thing over and over again. So let it loose and go play aggressive.
2:13 to the half. The momentary stoppage here to put some time back on the game clock.
And as a quarterback, this is really gets nasty. On the road, the fans are into it. The defense is fired up. You got to make your quick decisions.
3rd down and 9. Surtain blitzing from the corner. Then the ball is loose. They're going to rule it a fumble.
No, now they're waving it
Zach
off.
Thomas. One official finally said no.
Phil Luckett, the referee, finally comes in 3 or 4 seconds afterwards and rules it an incomplete pass.
Right. Everybody was in play, and then there was a late call ruling an incomplete pass.
Well, I'll tell you, it is close right here. And watch this. John Elway stepping up. He's actually going down.
Ooh, that's a fumble.
Yes, it is.
And it's Jason Taylor again.
That's a fumble.
His helmet.
It's Jason Taylor one more time getting to John Elway, and that is, well, let me rephrase that. That should have been ruled a fumble.
Yep.
That is not a fumble. It should have been.
Knocked it loose with his helmet, and again, it's one of those quirky plays. Even with replay, it still stays an incomplete pass because the whistle got blown. Here's Tom Ruin to punt. Buckley backs up all the way back to the 35-yard line. And Terrell swinging all the way across the field is out of bounds at the 50.
The only thing on that last play, Al, I would have liked to have known when the whistle really did blow.
Yes, me too.
Because something tells me it didn't blow right away.
I don't think so either. 1:49 left. This is the 2-minute warning. Crowd chanting. I guess they don't know Phil Luckett's name. They're yelling referee, and you know the rest.
You know, I can understand from watching from behind how the referee couldn't see the fact that Jason Taylor's helmet hit the ball. But the thing that you and I were discussing was whether or not they blew the whistle on the moment that they saw it. It looked like there was some indecision there.
There was. 1st down at the 50-yard line now for the Miami Dolphins after the punt. And Marino with 2 timeouts at his disposal. That pass is incomplete, intended for Rhonda Gadsden, covered there by Torrey James.
It's amazing when you're in the pocket and you drop back and you see the receiver and the DB is draped all over him. As a quarterback, you just cannot deliver the ball comfortably. You just don't feel very confident about putting it in there. And you can see right here, watch how they're right next to each other. There's no separation whatsoever.
Word Velcro come to mind?
Yeah. You know, and again, it goes back to Arani. He has 2 bad big toes, and he's not moving very good.
2nd down and 10. Marino throws over the middle, and that's broken up, intended for McDuffie, and getting a hand in there is the 10-year veteran Ray Crockett. 3rd down. 1,000 feet above Pro Player Stadium, the Budweiser blimp floating high above Pro Player Stadium. Built by the late Dolphins owner, Joe Robbie. The stadium was named for him for a number of years.
I thought you were talking about the blimp there for a minute.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Robbie built the blimp.
Oh, here we go. You see Ruddy now turning around, looking at Dan Marino, saying, okay, what are we doing here?
Going back to basics.
Right, exactly.
3rd down and 10.
And here comes the all-out blitz.
And Marino has to get rid of it in a hurry, and Nate Jackett is able to adjust and make the catch despite the coverage by Torrey James. Nate, who caught 5 balls last week, a 29-yard pickup here, a kid out of San Diego State, drafted by Indianapolis, released by them, picked up this summer by the Dolphins, and has spent time mainly on special teams.
Again, in the face of the blitz, the quarterback does not panic. Danny throws it up down the sideline, and Jaquette makes a play on a DB who's got his back turned.
Now Marino saving those 2 timeouts. It's Stanley Pritchett, the fullback. Good call, and a 1st down inside the 10, 1st and goal.
Yeah, 1st down and a stoppage of the clock. So that was good execution by the Miami Dolphins. They got the long completion. They were at a good pace in getting up to the line of scrimmage, and they ran a play, picked up 11 or 12 yards, and stopped the clock. This was really nicely done.
You could see the blitz on the previous play, and Marino standing in there and giving his receiver a chance to come back to the underthrown ball, one of the more difficult situations the DB finds himself in.
First and goal from the 9. Four-man rush. Marino throws, and it is caught in the end zone by Thomas. Lamar Thomas locked up with Tito Paul, the defensive back beaten last week by Amani Toomer for the game-winning touchdown at the Meadowlands.
Again, it's just a nice throw to the outside. It's kind of a fade route, and you try to throw it behind the head of the defensive back. And defensive back, that's called ball skills, getting up there and going after the football, something Tito didn't do in that particular play.
Mate for the point after. Thomas had not caught a touchdown pass since the 3rd week of the season. And for Dan Marino, that is career touchdown pass number 404.
But I think it tells you everything that we need to know for this game about where the Dolphins are offensively in either running or throwing the football. First and goal at the 9-yard line with 2 timeouts remaining. They go to the shotgun formation. They are using their strength. They're using their PhD in offense, Dan Marino.
They really are, and it's, you say that, it's kind of funny that Dan Marino is now in an offense that is so simplified that really any player that comes in here off the waiver wire should be able to pick it up, and that's why Jimmy Johnson did it. Plus the combination of young receivers and young running backs takes the onus off of them mentally and emotionally, but it really puts the handcuffs on Dan Marino.
But they had plenty of time to run the football if they would have wanted to. They could have gone into a regular offensive set with the 2 timeouts, but no, put it in the arm of the guy that brought you here.
Dan Marino, that's 19 this year for Dan, and the 404, of course, is a record.
It's more than a record.
By plenty.
Oh.
He's got more touchdown passes than some franchises.
16 years, and Dan wants to stick around for a while. He is not thinking about retirement. It's a bouncing ball fielded at the 16-yard line. This is Detron Smith, a backup fullback, taking it up to the 31-yard line with 50 seconds remaining in the half. And Elway has 2 timeouts. 10-7 Denver.
I don't necessarily know about that kick here. This is not a terribly difficult situation for John Elway to be in. This is something that he relishes and he does very well. The 2-minute drill at the end of a half, and you know, this is still a dangerous situation for the Miami Dolphins. They might think that they have momentum on their side, but this guy right here can quell that in a moment's notice.
First and 10 from the 31 in this battle of the quarterback class of '83. Elway throws, and that's caught up at the 38-yard line by Terrell Davis, and he's tackled at the 39. And one thing that Miami has done tonight is they really kept the Denver ground game in check. Davis making the catch here, but on the ground, 13 carries, 26 yards.
So I think I would have called timeout right there to save a few precious seconds, but who am I to argue with number 7 out there?
Second down and 2. Well, it's a point well taken, Boomer, because with under 20 now, it's caught over the middle.
Now timeout.
This is Griffith at the 47. Now they have to take one. And they have 1 remaining, but they're still well out of field. Well, I say well out of field goal range, but then if you think about Jason Elam, well, they're out of field goal range, but fairly close. Timeout, they have 1 left. What's coming up at the half? Chris Berman in Baltimore.
All right, Al, thank you. Coming up in the Toyota Halftime Report, the ESPN Top 10 Plays of the Week with an Elmo TD duet, a snake sacrifice leading to a score, and Jamal's runs for Reeves. Back to Miami.
There is Jason Elam. He of the 63-yard record-tying field goal earlier this year against Jacksonville, putting his name into the book alongside Tom Dempsey.
You know, the theory about the timeouts is that, you know, you don't want to leave any timeouts on the board if you're at the end of the half, especially in this type of situation. Right. And they probably could have saved a good 20 seconds. They might be sitting here with 34 seconds as opposed to 14.
You know, if they don't gain a single yard here and Elam comes out, you're looking at a 64-yard attempt or 65. Elway throws, and it is McCaffrey who gets banged down by Marion. He stays in bounds, compelling them to take their timeout here.
I don't think Ed had much of a choice where he landed.
No. No, and somebody had to call timeout for him.
And you talk about a tough guy. This is Ed McCaffrey down the sideline, knowing that Marion's going to come and lay a hit on him. One of the more dangerous passes to throw down the sideline for a receiver is in the zone of a cover 2 between the cornerback and the safety.
That will leave a mark.
That sure will.
That'll leave a mark.
And for Ed, he goes over 1,000 yards in receptions this season, and he'll remember that one.
And that's how you tackle. You tackle with your shoulder, not your helmet.
So the line of scrimmage is the 26. The field goal attempt by Elam now as they set it up. Ruin will put it down at the 34, so a 44-yard attempt.
That would have been more fun if he would have been an incomplete.
44-yarder after his earlier 52 and 63 earlier this season. This is like a sandwich for him. And it is good.
Well, give Denver credit for being aggressive. It would have been real easy to just sit on the football, run out the clock, go to the locker room with a 3-point lead at halftime.
That's why I don't understand the kickoff by Miami after they had just scored.
Instead, it's Denver 13, Miami 7 at the half. The Toyota halftime show coming up as Monday Night Football returns after this message from the National